Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to Play It Forward and happy Friday. I'm Allison and you are listening to WUSB Stony Brook 90.1 and 107.3 FM. I'm here with Taylor, Chloe, and Aisha and some very special guest students in the studio here. We have Serena, Arcadia, Olivia, and Xenia with us today. I'm missing somebody. Am I?
No.
Oh, and shout out to
other
Ishrat.
special guest.
So how are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Yeah?
Happy Friday. Yeah.
And we have a very special guest with us today that I will be introducing in a moment. But here's Taylor to tell you a little bit about our show.
Hey listeners, every 2 weeks we discuss the fentanyl opioid crisis that is plaguing our nation. So to start, what is fentanyl? Many Americans may be unaware of this lethal drug. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid up to 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. It is a major contributor to fatal poisonings in the U.S. Pharmaceutical fentanyl was developed for the pain management treatment of cancer patients. It is to be applied on a patch of the skin. Because of this powerful opioid properties, fentanyl is also diverted for abuse. For example, it is added to heroin to increase its potency, and recently it is disguised entirely as highly potent heroin. Many users believe that they are purchasing heroin and don't know that they are purchasing fentanyl, which often this results in overdose deaths. Clandestinely produced fentanyl is primarily manufactured in Mexico, and unfortunately today there is an epidemic where too many people are dying early due to fentanyl poisoning. In 2022, the U.S. government seized an absurd amount of fentanyl. It was enough to give the American population a lethal dose. This is a chemical attack on our country. Over 150 people die every day from overdoses related to synthetic opioids like fentanyl.
One way of looking at this is that it equals a plane crash a day. Every single day, imagine a plane being crashed. You know, if that occurred, the media coverage would be much more. From June 2020 through May 2021, there were over 100,000 deaths. 2/3 were from fentanyl and synthetic opioids. Those stats are up 30% from the year before. On Long Island alone, there has been a 30 to 40% increase in opioid deaths, and heroin and cocaine use is up 50%. This issue has gone from bad to worse. These are startling numbers, and we feel as a group that this is incredibly important to share this pertinent information. I invite Aisha to continue.
Okay. According to the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, 2 milligrams of fentanyl is lethal. So that's the size of 10 to 15 grains of salt. And last year they found 40% of counterfeit pills to be lethal. And among adolescents, it's the culprit for 77% of adolescent deaths in 2021. And according to the CDC, 107,375 people in the United States died of drug overdoses and poisoning.
Wow.
In the 12-month period ending in January 22. So, in today's world, illicit fentanyl is now the #1 cause of death among adults 18 to 45. So now that we know some more information about this invisible enemy, here's Allison to introduce our guest.
Thanks, Aisha. So I'd like to welcome Kurt Hall of Hope House Ministries. He's going to tell you a little bit about Hope House, the most amazing place run by a great man named Father Frank. So on behalf of Play It Forward, we welcome you, Kurt, and thank you so much for being with us here today. But before we begin, please introduce yourself and tell us what brings you here and what you want to see accomplished.
Hi. So, Kurt Hall here, and really grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
I What would I like to accomplish out of this? I think that it's just really important that we have an open dialogue and that, people in recovery are able to share their stories to let other people know that it is possible. All we hear about are the deaths and people that we've buried and loved ones and stuff. And I think that sometimes we overlook the people that have overcome this and made it to the other side. And, I'm very grateful that I was fortunate enough to be one of those people.
Congratulations, because that is quite an accomplishment.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you actually now work with people in recovery, but I have a whole group here armed with a lot of questions for you, and hopefully you'll enlighten some of our listeners. So thank you for being here and courageously sharing your story with us. So I'd like to start with Taylor.
We're going to jump right into your story here to start. Kurt, what led you to start using?
So I grew up, I had a really great family. My parents are together. I have 5 younger brothers and sisters. I'm actually from Connecticut, and I grew up in a really nice area over there in the middle of nowhere. I had a really normal, good childhood growing up. I was homeschooled, though, and I think that kind of led to, I always had the feeling of that I was different and that I just didn't really fit in anywhere. And then I was homeschooled my entire education, and that just kind of pushed me a little further to the outsides, and then I just fell in with the wrong group of people who were doing the wrong things. And it's kind of funny because none of them turned out to be addicts. It was only me out of that group of people, and they all just had their fun and moved on. And then 10 years later I'm still doing stuff.
And this is when you're a teenager.
Starting when I was 13, I started drinking, and then I drank a lot until I was about 17, and then I started smoking pot, and then it was, everything under the sun. Within 2 weeks, I'd done just about everything else. Yeah, and the alcohol, tried and true, was always what brought me down. And then the last 2 years, about 24 to 26, was the heroin, and that was brutal. Yeah. And I think that really brought me to my knees, and that was when I needed to get some help.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. What motivated you to get into recovery?
I've shared this before. I've had 12 overdoses, and 9 of them were in a 4-month span from heroin, and that was right before I made the decision to get clean. And every time I had when I'd come to in the hospital or the back of an ambulance or whatever, I had this very, very small window of clarity where my mind wasn't clouded. I knew how bad my life was. There was I wasn't in denial about anything. And every time that little window got smaller and smaller. And on my last overdose, I knew that if I went back out that I would either overdose and die, or I'd just kill myself, because I couldn't keep living like that. It wasn't even a life. I was barely surviving. And yeah, I was fortunate enough to know somebody who was able to get me into Hope House, and that's been the last just about 7 years of my life.
Tell us about that person.
I would love to. So I got to give a shout out to Mother Alma in Bethlehem, Connecticut, at the Abbey of Regina Laudis. All throughout my life, my childhood, I lived next to an abbey of nuns, and they're self-sustaining. They're really, really cool. There's a Netflix documentary about one of them and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, they're incredible. Yeah,
wow.
The Abbey of Regina Laudis. Please look them up.
God bless you.
And yeah. And this one nun who I actually, before she was a nun, she was my art teacher at a nature preserve nearby. And a few years later, I'm at the Abbey and I'm helping them. And this nun comes up to me and she goes, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "No, I don't." She goes, "Well, I'm Mother Alma and I was your art teacher." And so from then on, I just stayed in touch with her. And she's the only person in my life, I'll start crying right now. She's the only person in my life that never gave up on me. This woman, day in and day out would answer my calls and would put up with all my crap. And so I called her from the hospital and I said, "Listen, I'm finally ready to go to Hope House, please." Wow. And she called some people.
That was how you got involved.
It was a miracle. It really was. Yeah.
That's a blessing. Mm-hmm. And what an amazing woman to not give up on you.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So,
what exactly is Hope House?
So, Hope House is a long-term drug and alcohol program in Mount Sinai. And I have the mission statement here. So, Hope House Ministries provides compassionate, comprehensive, and competent care for the poor, the marginal, and the wounded among us. This commitment recognizes that all life is sacred and every human being is unique and has the right to be respected and protected. Specifically, we are committed to young people and families in crisis, pregnant women and mothers and babies in crisis, and all other wounded people within our society who are seen as abandoned and neglected. Thus, we seek to be men and women of hope in a world of shattered dreams. So that's our mission statement. And, having, it's a really unique position for me, and I'm really grateful to be in this position, having gone through the program. And I mean, when I say Hope House saved my life, that's no exaggeration. Yeah. So to be able to go through the program and then be able to go back and work with them and see guys exactly, every guy that comes in there, I see myself in, because they come in this broken, shattered person that has no hope, no future ahead of them, anything. And yeah, now I'm able to work there and really be hands-on with these guys that were same as me.
That's right. And you work there.
I'm the director of operations there. Amazing. So I take care of all the facilities and maintenance and stuff like that. Yeah. It's really rewarding. It's amazing.
That is amazing. Wonderful.
Okay, so I have some more questions about Hope House and your experience there. So can you explain to the listeners the impact of having a group of friends in recovery to support each other through recovery?
Yeah, that is definitely been my biggest I'm going to say like tool, I guess, is all the guys that I went through the program with, I've stayed in touch with, and we literally talk every single day. And they're all in recovery, and we all have about the same, like 6-7 years. And that is great. And I think that the key part of that is that we're honest with each other. And that honesty allows us to call each other out on stuff. And, if I don't talk to one of them for like a day or two, they're all calling me like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
And, that's a really great thing.
You all look
and
out for each other.
Yeah. And I didn't really have that when I was out there using. I didn't have anybody. It was like my drug dealers and myself. So to have this band of brothers who, I know would literally do anything. They'd die for me. I'd die for them. It's like you don't really find that too many other places. And I feel very, very blessed to have the people that I have in my life. It's been an amazing trip.
I personally know about Hope House, and I have to say it is quite a special place. You are very lucky that you were treated there.
Yeah, very, very lucky.
Wow.
I was wondering if you would mention that quote from Alexander the Great that you were talking about in our meeting earlier. I think the listeners would like that.
I will.
love
So
that.
I might have butchered it a little bit when I told you guys, but let me pull this up. Where am I? Here we go. And this was something I heard on early on in recovery, and actually it was early on in recovery, like when I was in rehab in Florida a while back, and this stuck with me over the years. So on his deathbed, Alexander the Great summoned his generals and told them his last 3 wishes. The first wish is that the best doctor should carry his coffin. The second wish was that the wealth he accumulated should be scattered along the procession to the cemetery. And the third wish is that his hands be hanging loose outside of the coffin for all to see. One of the generals, who was surprised by the unusual request, asked Alexander to explain. Alexander said, "I want the best doctors to carry my coffin to demonstrate that in the face of death, even the best doctors in the world have no power to heal. 2, I want the road to be covered with my treasures so that everybody sees that wealth acquired on earth stays on earth. I want my hands to swing in the wind so that people understand that we come into this world empty-handed and we leave this world empty-handed, after the most precious treasure of all is exhausted, and that is time. We do not take to our grave any material wealth, although our good deeds can be our traveler's checks. Time is our most precious treasure because it is limited. We can produce more wealth, but we cannot produce more time. When we give someone our time, we actually give a portion of our life that we will never get back. Our time is our life. So the best present that you can give to your family and friends is your time. May God grant you plenty of time, and may you have the wisdom to give it away so that you can live, love, and die in peace."
That is beautiful.
Isn't that great?
I love that.
It's like the coolest thing ever.
I really love that.
Because, like, what are we doing here? That's what I always say to myself. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And, what can I give to others? And, my time and hopefully some hope, I guess.
Thanks for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
I
No
think
problem.
you made
Yeah.
everybody's day,
Good.
Kurt.
I hope so.
Go ahead, Claude.
Yeah. So I was curious. Can you elaborate on how would you define recovery, and how has your recovery evolved over the time that you've been, on your journey?
I don't know if I can actually describe what what my or a definition of recovery exactly, because I think it's really unique to each person. But I think that over time, mine has evolved a lot. It started in Hope House, and when I was in the academy, we don't have any freedoms. You're not going and seeing your family. Like, your family can come and visit and stuff, but I really didn't have too many freedoms or luxuries to go out and do stuff. So when I graduated the program and began working, that added another element. And then when I moved out of Hope House, that was when I feel like I was really tested, and you're out there in the real world. You have all the temptations, you're, around stuff, you come in contact with stuff. So I think that it's always changing and always evolving. And I think that it's just kind of, really staying honest that's kind of my key thing. Is I'm honest with my friends and my support group, and I think that honesty doesn't put me in situations where I shouldn't be.
Yeah, that accountability is so helpful. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm curious, if you could go back in time, would you? What would you do? Would there be any things that you would do differently, or do you feel like, everything happened the way it was supposed to happen and to get you where you're at now?
I think that I'm sorry, I just I blanked out there for a second. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, so if you can go back in time.
Yeah, I got you. Sorry. I just closed my finger in this thing.
I'm sorry,
I just totally went blank. Yeah.
That mic. That second mic.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go back in time. I have a lot of... I feel a lot of pain, for the pain that I caused other people. I have an 11-year-old son, my family that I put through hell, all of that. So, that would be nice if they didn't have to go through all of that. But as far as where I am today, I'm pretty grateful for all the experiences that I've had, the good, the bad, the ugly. I think it's put me in a really unique position now. And, like I always say, I really feel very fortunate that I made it and I'm able to share my story and hopefully give others hope. So I don't know if I'd go back in time. Maybe change a few things, but overall, I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
You're an amazing role model for your son.
Thank you.
Absolutely, because this is real life stuff.
It is, yeah.
And your son must be very proud of you.
I'd like to think so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're definitely an inspiration to so many people, I'm sure. I'm curious, for those who have a serious substance use disorder, who do not have access to long-term care such as Hope House, either because they're not willing or because of financial resources or other barriers such as child care, elder care, whatever, what do you think would be most helpful in the community, despite the traditional MAT and 12-step programs and things like that? What would you suggest for people who've tried that and just, are still struggling?
It's so tricky because, I was very fortunate to go to Hope House, and I know that not everybody is able to. And I was in a place in my life where, I had lost everything. So it was very easy for me to up and leave and go away for 12 to 24 months and not have to worry about bills. My son was being cared for. I don't have any other anything else that I would have to worry about. So, that was a really unique position for me. And it's difficult for people that are out there who have jobs and families and homes and bills and all that stuff. It presents a lot of challenges. And I think that those things also can add on to, those are big stressors, like real life stuff is, real life stuff. It stresses you out.
Yeah.
So, it's really challenging. And I think that with the way our healthcare system is now and with insurance and stuff, unfortunately, people are going to get treatment and then are getting kicked out after 10 days, after 3 days, after. That's
ridiculous.
It's insane, and on top of that, there's not enough beds in any of these. No facility has enough beds. There's waiting lists everywhere you go.
It tells you how big this problem is.
Huge. So, to kind of answer your question, I don't really know. I think that there are so many resources out there, and I think that there are more every day. This is a perfect example of this, like what this podcast can do. And it's to bring awareness to stuff and give people other resources, because, not every shoe fits one person, and I have tried everything. I've done detoxes. I've done 30-day programs. I've done 90-day programs. I've been in there for 10 days. It's when the person is ready, and hopefully they find the right fit. And there's so many resources though, between AA programs or 12-step programs and stuff like that.
I think you touched upon something very important though, because that's a very short time. It took a long time to get to that point. So
Exactly.
You can't expect it to go away in 28 days or even 3 days. That's ridiculous. But I think it's interesting, Hope House. I don't think we mentioned how long the treatment is for Hope House, and that's a key part of their success.
Huge.
Yeah.
And so to touch on that, the program is typically 12 to 18 months, 12 to 24 months is a little more average, I think, anywhere in that span. I'm sorry, 18 to 24 months seems to be more the range. And that was it, because it took me, 15 years to get to Hope House, and what I'm going to do it in 15 days and be fine and be able to go back and start my life. Like, no, so I was in the academy for 30 months. It took me 30 months to finish. I did a lot of dumb stuff in there. I never relapsed, but I did a lot of dumb stuff that I got in trouble for. And I got, held back. And, I'm so grateful for that. At the time I was so angry that, I wasn't going to graduate. I wasn't going to be done with the program. But looking back now, that extra time in the program gave me a much needed foundation that I don't think was fully formed yet.
I hear a lot of humility in your voice. You sound very humble.
Oh, thank you.
What an amazing experience. I think a lot of people can learn from people in recovery, because it takes a tremendous amount of will and character but I think it's great now that you have turned the tables and now you're helping others.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like I said in the meeting, I really feel like it is the duty of those of us who have made it through to share some hope and share that there is a solution and that there are answers out there. There's help. There's people that care. There's people that are in the same position that you're in right now.
Yeah. I mean, so going into the second half of our show, we're talking about right now with Kurt, his struggles over the years with addiction, but there's also a newer problem I want to bring to light, and that's fentanyl. And the difference is one pill can kill. Many of these young people, young adults, 18 to 45, we say is they don't even get a chance to become addicted. They are unfortunately experimenting, which is something I don't think we'll ever be able to change. I think that will continually happen. But it's just such a terrible problem that's happening in our country right now. And I don't want to say it's different from what Kurt experienced, but a lot of parents, and I say parents because we had Carol on 2 weeks ago. She lost her 30-year-old son. And that's the worst, because after they're 18, you really don't have much control. The best you can do is just make everyone aware. And that's really why on our show we really want everyone to have the awareness, the education about how terrible this problem is. And so, in the next half, I guess we'll talk more about that. But in the meantime, I think at this point, everyone knows of someone who has died this way, and it can be avoidable. Please educate one another. Is there anything else? Did I miss anything in the mid wrap up here?
No, I had a couple more questions for Kurt, but I'll bring them up after the wrap up. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'd like to play a special song. I'm going to give a shout out to my good friend Tommy Provencia in Port Jeff. He performed on acoustic guitar at my brother's memorial service. I lost my little brother almost 6 years ago to an overdose, and his memorial service was at Hope House Ministries, and it was officiated by Father Frank. I had found out during our Zoom meeting that Kurt was actually at that service. I was so blown away. It brought tears to my eyes, and just kind of brought me back to that. And so, with that said, I would like to play a special song that Tommy played, and my good friend. Did you want to mention something?
No.
Okay. My good friend, my friend from Germany, Norm Strauss's acoustic cover of "Carry On My Wayward Son" is dedicated to my little brother, Stephen Van Cott. The masked Narcan training that we will be doing for the sociology of drug and alcohol with Dr. Kathy Marone, the masked Narcan training is dedicated in his honor each year. And we always play this song when we are giving out the Narcan kits. It is so beautiful. I want everybody to take a listen to the lyrics because I think anyone who's struggling can relate.
Once I rose above the noise and confusion, just to get a glimpse beyond this illusion. I was soaring ever higher, but I flew too high. Though my eyes could see, I still was a blind man. Though my mind could think, I still was a madman. I hear the voices when I'm dreaming. I can hear them say, carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. Masquerading as a man with a reason. My charade is the event of the season. And if I claim to be a wise man, it surely means that I don't know. On the stormy sea you'll move in motion, tossed about him like a ship on the ocean. I set a course for winds of fortune, but I hear you say, carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. Nothing equals the splendor. Now your life's no longer empty. Surely heaven waits for you. Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. Oh, don't you cry no more. Carry on my cry no more.
Welcome back, guys. That was a beautiful song. Thank you, Norm Strauss. And shout out again to Tommy Provenza. Love that song. So we're going to continue where we left off with Kurt Hall. And so here's Chloe.
Yeah, that was such a beautiful song. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. So, my question is, what are some of the most challenging aspects of recovery for you, and what has helped you through during those circumstances?
Yeah, so there's a lot of just like day-to-day encounters. Like I think in the beginning that the most challenging one for me was probably everywhere you go there's alcohol, and it's so normalized. Everybody is drinking everywhere. Every commercial is a drinking commercial. Every sporting event is, like a big commercial for alcohol. So that was really challenging in the beginning. It was just like, it's always in your face. It's everywhere you go. And it was interesting because I feel like the later half of my using was heroin, but that's not so much in your face. You're not walking to 7-Eleven and buying your heroin, well, some 7-Elevens you might be able to, but it's outside usually. So that was really challenging. But, I think with over time, I continued working my program and then stuck to my foundation and what I'd learned, at Hope House, and that, I really applied that to my day-to-day life. So I think that's a big reason why I'm still going strong.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can imagine how hard it is with alcohol. That's a difficult DOC because it is absolutely everywhere, and it's so socially acceptable too, like at parties and everything.
And it was essential during COVID.
Yes,
remember
essential
that?
service, exactly.
Yeah, liquor stores were open.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm curious also, like, do you have any reservations? And would you disclose that? Maybe you wouldn't disclose that, but are there any reservations that you feel like you have that could, set you up for a potential future relapse?
Yeah, so I don't... I've done everything that's out there. So there's nothing like on my bucket list that I'd want to check off or anything like that. I'd love to give that a shot. And honestly, the risk is just the risk is so great. If I tried something, I have no idea what's in it. One pill kills. Like, what is, why would I risk that? I'm not going to lie. I've come close to relapsing a couple times. I've fairly recently, in fact, like within the last month, I've been struggling with my mental health, and depression and anxiety kicks up sometimes. I was in a position where I was around people drinking, and I came really, really close. I'll be honest. And yeah,
But you didn't.
But I didn't. No, and I literally got up and I walked out and I left.
Good for you.
And sometimes like it's something as easy as that, just getting up and leaving. I was able to change a muscle, or move a muscle, change a thought, kind of thing. So yeah, I think that there's always challenges. I feel like it's not something I'm ever going to be over or cured from. But the temptations certainly are not nearly as powerful, and I don't have urges or anything like that anymore. So I think I'm in a pretty good place now.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations on, remaining strong and choosing to walk away during that circumstance, and recognize that you were kind of like on the brink of, doing something that might not be aligned with your personal recovery program. And I'm curious, like right now, like what does your recovery plan look like? What is your personalized, what works for you at this moment in your recovery?
Yeah, so I think that the scary thing about like coming so close to relapsing is I have almost 7 years now, and I feel like I don't have some of the struggles or temptations that I had in early recovery. So this just kind of came up out of nowhere. So, it really kind of threw me for a loop that after all this time, I'm still vulnerable to it, and it can happen so easily. So my program now, I still see my counselor that I saw at Hope House. I still see her every week. I go to meetings. I go to 12-step meetings, and then really like my big one is my support group and that network of people in recovery who are living the same lifestyle. I don't hang out with people that drink anymore. I don't go to parties. I don't all those things that I did in early addiction when it was still fun and stuff. I don't put myself in those positions. I don't associate with those people anymore. And I think that really is key to having a solid foundation, because I see so many people, I have watched so many people come and go through Hope House. And a common theme is leaving and not staying connected to your network. And when that happens, the wheels slowly come off, and then you're left usually in the same position that you were in before you came to Hope House. And that's a really, really sad thing to see people come, give 2 years of their lives, get their lives back on track, and then leave, and they don't follow what they were taught. It's so sad to see. It's heartbreaking.
Not using their tools.
Not using the tools. Yeah. Everything that and that was, and I'm kind of guilty of that. I'll be honest, and I think that's why I kind of came close to relapsing is, I stopped doing a lot of those things, and I wasn't seeing my counselor for a little while, and I'd been isolating a little bit, so I wasn't getting honest with my friends, and all those things. If you're not doing it constantly, it is a constant battle to stay on this path.
You bring up a word, isolation.
Yeah,
that's COVID
yeah,
really
hello, COVID,
contributed to this problem enormously, and isolation with Steve Chastman. Really made a point about that in his lecture. That's a big part of why people end up using, right? It's opioids started for physical pain, right? But it also people found it
takes you out of yourself.
Emotional pain as well.
Yeah.
And
Numbs.
so stay connected, people.
Huge, and I mean the isolation thing is it's really, really dangerous, and I find myself slipping into that a little bit, and I got to catch myself. So.
Yes, thank you so much for your honesty and vulnerability on that. And, again, congratulations on remaining strong and recognizing that you needed to alter in that moment your recovery plan and, really remain connected. I remember hearing, the opposite of addiction is connection, and how important and valuable that connection is with the right people, of course. Like you were talking about those people, places, and things, and staying away, but replacing that with the positive, social support, people who have lived experience, your counselors, and all of that. It's invaluable. So my question to follow this would be, what are some of the greatest rewards for you of your recovery?
That's a good question, Chloe.
I could do a whole hour on that.
All right, that's really good.
It's been incredible. I always I wish that I could. I don't even have any pictures really of when I was using, because I was 120 pounds. I was a mess. And it's not just that. I had no relationships. I had no connections with anybody anymore. I have an 11-year-old son, and I was always in his life, even during the addiction and stuff. But I was never present. Was so checked out and not there half the time. So that by far has been the greatest gift that I've gotten. I have a phenomenal relationship with him, and I would not trade that for anything. And I think that, these rewards that I've gotten are also a really, really strong motivator for me to continue on the path that I'm on, But yeah, I have relationships with my family now. My little sister went through a lot the last 2 years, and we've always been really close. But I think that having been through what I've been through, I was able to be there for her in a way that I never would have been able to before. And I know that she's grateful for that, as am I. So yeah, family, the friends that I have now that's my family. It's really, God says, or they say that God gives you can't choose your family, but that's why you can choose your friends or whatever. No, I'm not knocking my family at all, but I'm so grateful for my friends and the people that I've met at Hope House. And then I think that another huge gift that I'll be eternally grateful for is Hope House and the connections that I have with Father Frank, the chairman of our board, Charlie Russo, who does just absolutely amazing things for us and for countless other organizations. That connection that I have with that place is there's no words. They're really, I get emotional just like thinking about it. You know, I'm so grateful for everybody there, for the staff there, for all the clients, you know, all the guys that come in there just like me and, you know, are trying to get their lives back on track.
I've been to, well, aside from my brothers, I've been to some services at Hope House, and the energy there is just, you could feel it. You can feel that everyone is very connected and really genuinely cares for one another. And I guess kind of going by Alexander the Great's quote, you know, it sounds like you're living that life, you know, where you're really appreciating the time with your family. And I hope anyone out there that's struggling, you know, your family they really care about you and don't think they've ever given up on you, because I've been on that side too, and it's quite difficult. But that's really great that you have your family back and everything.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. You know, and I think that to that point, with that the family never gives up on you and stuff. You know, it's been a unique position for me now because I feel like some of these guys are my family, and I've gotten a little taste of what maybe my family went through, and I think that that's really been a unique perspective for me to have.
Helping others.
Yeah, big time.
Wow, you sound very grateful.
Very.
Okay.
Taking us back a little bit, before recovery, did the stigma associated with drug use ever stop you from trying to get help?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely played a part. I think that there were a lot of, I just don't think I wanted to stop using it at the time, so I don't know if the stigma really had too much to do with it, but, you know, I have encountered that so much, and I definitely have experienced that. Yeah, you know, everybody thinks that, like, drug addicts are dirtbags, and we're, you know, like scumbag people, or, you know, alcoholics are scumbag people, and, you know, it's not. It's like we're sick, we're in pain, we're hurting, we're lost, like we're just empty people. So yeah, I think that the stigma, not for me personally, but I have seen it so much with others, with guys that have come through the program, people in 12-step programs who, you know, really, you know, I was pretty lucky my family was understanding it, but even in their understanding, there wasn't a whole amount of resources available to them, you know, and they went through that, and they went through the hassle of trying to get me into programs, and what a headache that is. You know, my mom has spent countless hours on the phone trying to get me into detoxes and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if that really answered the question or not, but
No, it did partially. It led me to asking another question. So you said I didn't want to stop. So can you kind of speak on that? About I've heard this from a lot of people that I've talked to, that when they're in addiction, they don't fully start their recovery journey unless, like, they have, like, this strong feeling that I have to stop this now. You have to really want to stop. So yeah, can you talk on that?
yeah. Yeah, you know, when you're in it, it's like, I don't know. For me, I could not imagine, you know, my life had been drugs and alcohol for so long that I could not imagine anything without them. So, you know, even though my whole life was falling apart, it was the only life that I knew, in a sense. So I don't know. I'm trying to think here. That's really tough. Yeah. I just didn't want to stop using. You know, I had no reason to. I thought my life would be miserable without drugs and alcohol. Meanwhile, my life was so miserable with drugs and alcohol. I don't know why I thought that it would be, you know, worse if I took those things out of it. But yeah, it was. And then, you know, taking those things out of it too, sometimes you realize that, oh, there's a lot more going on, you know, and that was kind of the case with me. Like, I took the drugs and alcohol away, and then I realized, wow, there's all these other character defects that go hand in hand with all this that I had no idea about. So I'm sitting here thinking the drugs and the alcohol are the problems, which they are, you know, they're a huge problem, but a bigger piece of that is how I'm living, the person that I am, the things that I do, you know, and that's why I think that the honesty part is so key, is because, you know, I don't, when I'm honest, I don't find myself having to be dishonest. And when I'm dishonest, I'm usually in a position that I should not be in, or I'm on a place that I shouldn't be, or with somebody I shouldn't be. So, you know, I really feel that by doing the right thing has allowed me to live this honest life. And I'm not, like, hiding in the shadows. I'm not doing things behind people's back. And I think that has kind of been a big piece for me.
Very freeing.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for that.
I mean, you really kind of touched upon also about how recovery is so much more than just abstaining. It's not, that's just the tip of the
That's
iceberg.
great. That's great if you
right?
could do that, yeah.
People think that, like recovery, you just don't do the drugs or whatever. You don't drink, you don't whatever. And that's recovery. So you were kind of touching a little bit on the differences, like how we have to kind of maintain, as people in recovery, we have to work on those defects and other underlying issues, and remain vigilant, because like you were saying earlier, like relapses can and do happen. And, unfortunately, they happen all the time, so it really is a maintenance type thing and kind of evaluating what's working, what's not working, what do I need to tweak and
right.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that it's like important that you remain is adaptable a word? Is that a word? Adaptable?
Yeah.
That you remain adaptable. You're able to alter things and tweak things like you were saying, because everything changes. I would imagine that my recovery would change drastically if I was not working at Hope House. And like what would I do differently? How would I need to? It does. It really does. It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it is. It's like you're constantly fighting a battle, and it becomes like second nature over a while. I don't have to think about doing the right thing anymore, because I just do it. It's like a natural thing now. So
we're all human,
Exactly.
I mean, everybody, and Steve really touched upon that in this lecture. Steve Chastman, we're giving another shout out here of LICAD. Everybody's human. We all have struggles and insecurities and flaws. No human being is perfect. And I say this every show, but I truly believe so much more compassion could be displayed by society in general, and just more compassion for this problem instead of it being a stigma and something to be ashamed of. I think you are an amazing role model, and you're somebody that we admire and look up to. And
no, thank you.
I think a lot of people underestimate what it takes to do what you did and achieved. It's actually an achievement.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah,
and one thing too is, you were kind of like go back to like the abstinence thing. I didn't really know what a dry drunk was, and well, so let me tell you. A dry drunk is somebody that just stops drinking and then doesn't work a program. And I'm a big believer that everybody, whether you are an addict, alcoholic, you have any kind of whatever, you're a normal person, normal quote unquote, that we should always be working to better ourselves. And I think that 12-step programs really, really help to unlock that and help you to take an honest look at yourself. And I think that through those honest, goggles, if you will, that allows us to be more compassionate to others. And I think that might be the key. It's not so much maybe the addicts that need to change. We do, obviously, I'm not minimizing that, but, maybe the rest of society needs to take a look at that. Like, what are you guys looking at, and how are you looking at us? Are you looking at us and pointing fingers? Or are you looking at us and, opening your arms to us? I think that's something that everybody could work on. I think we can always strive to be better.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more on that. So I was just talking a little bit before the break about fentanyl, and, thank God that, it sounds like you kind of missed that, because, I mean, not that fentanyl is new, but it's been a serious problem, a crisis, an epidemic in the recent years. And I just want to bring up some news that happened this week. On Monday, I believe, in Northern California, or in California rather, enough fentanyl was seized to kill 50 million people. I mean, just think about that. This is one seizure, but then we don't know what else is getting.
Right, for that one that got through or that didn't get through,
right.
There's 5 others that did.
But, as I said before the break, I think everybody knows of somebody that has died. We don't want to say overdose. The word is poison.
Yeah.
Because these people that take these counterfeit pills, that's what they are. They're counterfeit. They come from China. They're made in Mexico, and they cross our border. And a grieving mom was just recently on Capitol Hill testifying. She lost 2 of her sons same day. I can't.
Terrible.
I can't
even
imagine.
No, nobody should have to go through that.
No, and that's what's very scary about this problem, because she even admitted she wasn't as aware of how bad this is. And I think you all can agree that there needs to be, I can't understand why there are not PSAs on TV, on trains, on subways.
Yeah, milk cartons.
Yeah,
like seriously. Yeah, I know.
I mean, everywhere.
I know.
And that's why we feel this show is so important, because I know personally friends who never thought their kids would ever do anything like this. And all it takes is that, as Carol Trotero would say, one pill can kill. And that is so true now. Now, she had this statistic, 6 out of 10 illicit drugs contain fentanyl.
Oh, yeah.
And that is unbelievable.
Scary.
Pills happen to be the number one drug of choice for the younger generation today. And I think it's because us, along with New Zealand, are the only countries that advertise drugs. So I think we, as a society, has just made taking pills like it's just...
It's so normalized. And I mean, you think of it, these kids are not going to be going out and getting heroin for their first time. Like that was, I was like replaying like how I got into everything. I was not going to go out and try heroin the first time. But if you want me to try a Xanax, all right, that doesn't seem so harmful. That's a pharmaceutical that comes in a bottle. Your mom might have it, whatever.
Exactly like it.
Yeah. And then, so it's not, like you said, it's not an overdose. They're not taking too much. They're being poisoned.
Yeah. I mean, I will go as far to say this is a chemical attack on our country and our young generation. And 107,000 people is just mind-boggling. And I feel for Carol. I have a good friend. Carol and I are going to meet. A shout out to Tova Keblish. We'll be meeting her next week. She lost her son Gavin, her only son, just like Carol. And my heart breaks for these people because, you just never expect, they don't expect this to happen. And so if there was just more awareness, and I'll go as far to say I wish there was more awareness on social media itself, because that is where the kids are getting the drugs from. And so Snapchat, I'm calling you out, okay? How come you are not having PSAs on your platform about this, where kids are actually buying the drugs? Yeah. This is insanity to me, and I really feel very upset about that. I can go on and on.
I just want to chime in real quick too that it really falls on the parents too. And as a parent, I've had conversations with my 11-year-old. You know how scary that is to have a conversation about drugs and pills and stuff that your other friends are doing. So I really encourage parents to reach out to their kids and try to open that dialogue. Start when they're young, and it's a lot easier.
Yes. Talk to your kids. Parents, please talk to your kids. Please. So we're going to wrap it up. I'll have Aisha do our wrap up.
Okay. All right, wrapping up. So thank you so much to everyone that supports this cause and understands how important it is to look out for each other and empathize with anyone dealing with addiction. And also, please educate one another about the unfortunate newer threat, fake fentanyl pills that are sold online and on the streets with real ease, and how dangerous that is. This has to stop. I'm going to give the mic to Taylor for some helplines. And if anybody needs anything, these are some resources.
Yes, so the first resource we have is SAMHSA's National Helpline. To call their number, it's 1-800-662-HELP, 4357. This is also known as treatment referral via text message, HELP, number 4, letter U. There's also a confidential, free, 24-hour-a-day, 365-day a year information service available in English and Spanish for individuals and families facing mental and or substance use disorders. Their number is 1-800-487-4889. Tell you again, the number is 1-800-487-4889. There's also LICAD, Long Island Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence. They address the addictive climate over time by providing initial attention and referral services to individuals, families, and children through intervention, education, and professional guidance to overcome the ravages of alcohol and other drug-related problems. You can contact LICAD at their hotline number, 631-979-1700, And also, please visit LICAD's website at licad2ds.org for more information. Also, Hope House. Please reach out to Hope House. You can visit their website at hhm.org. And their phone number is 631-473-0553.
Another resource for those who may not be ready for treatment yet would be Never Use Alone hotline. They will stay on the phone with you while you're using and make sure that you don't fall out or overdose. And they never call the police on you. It's only EMS workers, and they have saved at least 88 lives so far. Their number is 1-800-484-3734. Again, that's 1-800-484-3731.
Thank you, Chloe. And we want everybody to keep
playing it forward.
So, Kurt, thank you so much for your time. Our
Been a
think
pleasure.
tank.
Thank you guys so much. I think what you're doing is incredible, and you guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We hope everyone is listening. And really quick, shout out to Jarrett. If you're listening, please send us your email again. And anybody else who has any questions, you can email me, Allison, at sbu.tpifp@gmail.com. So thank you again, everyone. And Kurt, be well.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Thank you so much.
It's wonderful work that you're doing. And please tell Father Frank we said
I
hello.
will. I certainly will.
and
He might be listening right now. I don't know. Hey, Pops, if you're out there.
Hey, Pops, I love that. So this is Allison of the Play It Forward Project, and I hope you tune in to our next show on March 10th from 1 to 2 p.m. Thank you again to WUSB, our think tank, Chloe, Aisha, Ishrat, Taylor, and hopefully some new members. And shout out to Kathy Marone. You are listening to WUSB, Stony Brook, 90.1 and 107.3 FM. And I have a special song we're going to play for Kurt. And Kurt's going to just share a lyric. It'll give you guys a little heads up.
Once in a while, you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right.
That was his song that helped him through.
That's
So,
it. Tried and true.
Yeah, well, be well, everyone. Look out for one another. Here is the Grateful Dead.
Scarlet Begonias.
Scarlet Begonias. Thank you, everyone. Be well.